Well, welcome to MindShifters Radio. Today is Friday, December 26th, 2025. And welcome to Boxing Day, Andrea.
Thank you.
And a year almost complete.
Mm-hmm.
Yay. Welcome, Michael.
Thank you, dear heart. Nice to see your sweet face on the camera with your new God shirt. It's pretty cool.
Oh, let's see. Ooh. What does that say on your arm? Oh, I can't
All
hear
the time. I think you're muted, sweetie.
Oh, okay. So God is good.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. Oh, awesome. Did Dr. Rice make that for you?
He didn't make it, but he gave it to me for Christmas.
Okay, cool. Cool.
He ordered it.
Did he?
She did.
I ordered it for him to give to me. Welcome, Susan Bingham. It was so good to see you walking around yesterday. That's awesome.
That was awesome.
Oh, you guys.
To get that visual. I mean, just so few days after a mega surgery like that. That's just awesome.
Well, I'm back on a on a walker and a cane just because I've been reading my post-op instructions, and they say if you start walking around without assistance too soon, you may end up with a limp because you've been favoring the hurting leg. They said, get back on that machine. So I'm behaving.
They probably know what they're talking about.
Yep. So how are you guys?
We're good. Good. We had just a very quiet couple of days. We didn't go anywhere. Well, we went out for a walk it was a beautiful day here on Christmas Eve. So we went walking on a little island a few miles from here. And Christmas dinner last night was Domino's and leftovers and just a quiet evening. So it was really quite sweet. Quite sweet.
Yeah, that's nice. Good.
So it meant that we didn't get to hug the grandkids, but we'll do a Christmas with them in another few days. Spend some time with them.
Right. Are they better?
They're still, Lincoln especially, his fever apparently is kind of bouncing around, so he's still got some stuff going on, but they're looking better.
Good.
Yeah, they're definitely on the upswing. And everybody else, in all the other cities that we have grandkids, they're all doing fine. So we did get to do some Zoom Christmases with them and all.
Wonderful. Oh, that's great.
So how's everybody doing? What's exciting? The day after Christmas.
I would love some help.
How can we support you? What's up?
Oh, wow. So, of course, this is family season, and which I love.
Opportunities to learn forgiveness come automatically.
Right? It's like a guarantee. So it's been really interesting. My daughter, my oldest, she's 25. She's been here for almost a month, and I've just been really observing. And by yesterday, it kind of came to a bit of a explosion, maybe like an emotional explosion. And I don't like Christmas. And this year, I just said, I'm doing the bare minimum. I'm going through my own stuff. I always put on a happy face and do all these things for you guys. But I'm like tapped out this year. And which is really disappointing for her because she really wanted, after a blowout between her and I, she wasn't around for 2 Christmases because she took space. And she had all these expectations, and she cried most of the day yesterday. And so this consistent pattern that I've been seeing, which is helping me understand my power person dynamics, is that she she had these big emotions, and I can see like me. Oh my God. Like I just see me. She's just like,
Good
and
mirror.
she, oh, and she's showing me why I don't even like Christmas. Like I actually hate it. It's very strong feelings. I hunker down and hold on for dear life till it's over.
Can I give you some feedback on that?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Yeah. So notice your projection of hatred, that
Okay.
like as if it's got something to do with Christmas. And my offering would be, yeah, Christmas is a time where hatred was acquired, but my offering would be that it's got nothing to do with Christmas. It's got to do with the fact that somewhere in your tissue structure, somewhere probably in your genes, has been inherited this thing called hatred. And because family comes together and that's when a lot of dynamics happen, that's when the hatred comes up. But that's
Okay.
also when you take back the projection that it's about Christmas and realize that it's about you, that's the time when you can delete hatred. It's a time when you can, be finished with hatred, and then you could have Christmas every day of the year and hatred not be a part of your experience
Okay.
because it's no longer there. And it's a
Okay.
big reversal to take that level of responsibility and go, wow, I carry that kind of a load. But
Okay. Okay, that's really helpful because I was looking for clues in my reality, and especially with my daughter, of like, okay, this is obviously what's inside me. I'm not really sure. I'm kind of cut off to it. The only thing that comes to my mind is that my family was so, I don't like this word, but I don't have a better one yet, toxic.
mhm, mhm,
That at Christmas, everyone would come together and put on a smiley face and pretend like everything was okay and happy and well. And it always, since I was a small child, felt unsafe. It just felt
yeah,
untrue. And then a blowout would happen, and but it would be
all
like
right,
everyone's aware of the molestation and all the crazy shit going on, and that other person's supposed to be quit drinking and they're pretending they are, but they're actually drunk, and like all
right.
these crazy dynamics. And I don't yet know how to work through it. And I'm getting the tools and I'm getting the resource, but with her, because this has continuously come up with my daughter, as she's crying, my power person dynamics kick in, which is as soon as someone has big feelings, I go cold, like numb. And
Right. I got to get out of here.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I really stayed, and it's been hard. I stayed and I rubbed her back. I was numb inside. I know she can feel it. And I just said the words, even though the feeling wasn't in there. And I just said, I'm right here. I'll sit with you. I'll be with you. I want you to know that I want to support you in your needs and your feelings, even though she was actually projecting onto me, but minimally, so I could stay in my neutrality. And I sat with her for a long time, and then I meditated because her back was to me. And it, I'm trying really hard to show up and
Well, it
not be.
sounds to me like you did. Sounds to me like you showed up 100% and you carried what was true for you, which around holiday time means I have to go numb and not feel. But look at it. You were there. You put your hands on her. You didn't. What used to happen in the family system when that stuff would come up? Everybody go in a different direction, right? Or
Yeah.
somebody leave. We actually there's another part of the family that has a gathering, and we dropped on Christmas Day to drop off the gifts there, and the in-law has a mother and father that live somewhere up north. I don't know just where. But they had driven down to do family Christmas. And her words when we dropped off the gifts were, well, my mom and dad just had World War III and they left. They didn't stay for Christmas. They're gone. And that's what usually happened. You showed up. Were you perfect? Did you carry everything you wanted to? No.
Right.
But you showed up. And I mean, if you were a kid if that blowout were going on, if that kind of emotion were going on for you, how different would it have been if there had been somebody there who were putting their hands on you and assuring you, even if they weren't fully present as love? How much of a difference would it have made?
Yeah.
So you change the whole family pattern. You just change the family game.
Okay.
So I support you acknowledging yourself for that, even though, and if you look at the commitment, my commitment from the Healing Through Relationships workshop, if you look at it from a couple of months ago, and then just recently, because of exactly what you're talking about, I had the same dynamic going on for me.
Okay.
And I changed the commitment. There was a new line added to commitment just a couple months ago. And that was in the third paragraph, where it used to say, if anything less than love shows up, I'll hold us in my heart and listen as we each learn to speak, experience, and be responsible for our own realities. And I put a line in there because I noticed that sometimes, I would speak and I would intend and I would want to be this way, the way the earlier part of the commitment, I'm going to be love, I'm here for you and with you. But I had to put a new piece in the commitment for me. And that was, if anything that I've committed to sounds hollow, I'm here to be responsible for it and heal it. Because when I learn that there's something new to be done, that doesn't mean I can show up with it perfectly tomorrow. It's a process. When you realize that these kind of deep emotions are generations and generations and generations in the making, you don't just go, oh, well, now I'm going to change that one. But it sounds to me like you made you changed the whole family dynamic. You actually stayed there with your hurting daughter and were able to touch and reassure her. To me, that's monumental.
Okay, well, thank you. I just felt powerless. Like I actually don't know what to do.
Yeah, sounds like you did it pretty well for somebody who didn't know what to do.
Okay.
And it sounds like your forgiveness work is that of healing this powerlessness. And powerlessness comes from me projecting that particular result in my life is caused by someone else. So my offering is that, at our first breath, everybody that's ever come to planet Earth was given an equal amount of power. And some keep their power, and some deny their power by blaming others for what is going on. And therefore, they hide their power in their brain's image of the person that they're blaming. When you forgive as to that person, and notice we're not saying forgive that person, but when you forgive as to that person, you get to reclaim your power. But it's coming back from your own unconscious.
Okay.
And so
Yeah.
some forgiveness work around powerlessness is great. And it sounds like you stepped up to the plate with a full measure of generosity that if it had happened to you when you were hurting like that as a kid, it would have changed your life. And you just changed your daughter's life. And
Okay.
my goodness, you're not perfect yet. Yeah, sometimes our words are going to sound hollow because we're not yet where we want to be, but that's part of the process.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, I just was, when I journaled last night, the powerlessness part, I was realizing that, because I sat down and I asked her, will you do some worksheets with me? And or one, like just try it. It's a quick process and just see. And she wasn't interested in doing that. And so I was just journaling, and which was hard because she still has this codependency that I raised her with. And she wanted me to be right there giving, like, it's like this taking feeling. And I just kept journaling, even though I knew that's what she wanted, just staying in my own center, trying to model for her this is what interdependency looks like. And while still engaging with her and talking to her and being present with her. And I realize when she has emotions, and this has been the long pattern, that if she's emotional, I think I've done something wrong.
Mm.
And so I got to hold
There's
myself
your
in
power
that.
person dynamic, right? You're to blame. Look, this is all your fault.
Yeah.
Here's where you dig out the power person worksheet and do that full long form worksheet.
The 19 pages all at
That
once.
19-page one. Yep. Because, when I like the way you use the word big feeling. When a big feeling comes up, that means that under the surface, there's a whole complex. Like every time that we engage in a piece of mind energy, that mind energy lands on the receptor side of the cell. And when it hits the receptor side of the cell, or it is active from within the cell warns us with what we call feelings or emotions, what the quality of that mind energy is. When one has a big feeling, that means that there might be 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 5,000 thought disorders following off in a cell that creates this big, complex, emotional cascade.
Yeah.
And, the reason for that power person worksheet is that it's how you get to every one of those thought disorders that creates that big complex feeling that looks like, well, you could never break that down or never get rid of it. That's what the 19 pages is about, is looking at every aspect of it and what are all the unconscious energies firing that produce this big feeling that seems like it's impossible to wrestle to the ground. And it's impossible to wrestle to the ground because it is. It's so fraught with unconscious thought disorders, or it's the reflection of those unconscious thought disorders. And how do you deal with them one at a time? And that's what that power person worksheet's for. One at a time, looking at the source of this thought, this thought, this thought, this thought, this one, this one, this one, and this one, that produces the big feeling that's impossible to wrestle with. And when you do it that way, all of a sudden, the big feelings start to disappear. And you get to show up in your own body as love, rather than those energies edging you out of your own physiology.
Okay, well, that's a really great direction. It gives me more of a connection to that workbook. And it's interesting you say that, because we were driving to my mom's for dinner and I said, Alex, I know that you're really upset about this Christmas, because she's like, you turned your blender on and made your cacao and my nervous system was shot, and I can't believe your blender did that. And I'm just watching and observing and going, interesting how I do that too. It's something out there that made me feel that way, but I was already feeling that way. And
Right.
so I'm getting this beautiful mirror in her. But I said to her, honey, because she was kind of on the edge and I didn't want to aggravate things. And I just said,
Right.
I wonder, I'm just curious. Do you think that there might be a lot more going on than just the blender, and that your expectations of Christmas aren't being met? Do you think it might have to do with 2 Christmases without your family and the things that led up to that aren't resolved yet? That could be really on the surface here. And I can't do this with you right now. Why do you take
Yeah.
things so deep? And I said, that's okay. I'm just saying I'm curious, but I'm letting you know I'm right here. And we'll work this through together. And whether it's not talking about it or talking about it, and she relaxed. But I thought it was so beautiful to watch her, because it helps me understand why in relationship, what I look like and how difficult, I don't like that saying that, but I don't know another word of like how hard it is to be connected with me in a relationship, not friends, but a romantic one or a really close one,
Hmm.
because that's me. I go up and down with these
Yeah.
big feelings. I'm not sure what's happening. People are trying to get close and connected. I
A
feel
lot
like
of unconscious dynamics going on.
yeah.
Yeah. So, two thoughts.
Okay.
Is she still there?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So another thing to do might be to, rather than inviting her to do a worksheet, because you're making quite a request of her, you might ask her if, explain maybe something you're ready to work on, and maybe just explain the idea of being the space of love. And, you know, I could really use some support in working through this issue. Would you be willing to just be there and hold the space for me?
Mm.
And as you go through the steps of the worksheet and demonstrate what it looks like, you allow it to be a distance from her where she can observe it without having to dive into it,
Okay.
and go and at least start to get the idea that maybe it's possible. And or you may even say, I realize there's a power person dynamic and we've got this big worksheet. Would you hold the space and demonstrate what going through, introduce her to the internal process? Remember that most of us, when we were brought up, from day one, there was always a focus on the outer world. We have a trinket, we have a toy, we have a song, we have something, we have colors, we have whatever it is. And the whole focus is out there. And that's I think, the raising of most children in our culture today. And there's no time for and no time spent with going inside and looking at the inside dynamic. And so for most people, especially if the inside's filled with all sorts of unresolved crap, which most people carry, to say, let's start looking at the inside, it's like, no way. But to just demonstrate that it's possible to look on the inside, it's possible to be honest with yourself and look at what's going on there, and that it's possible to resolve it. Like that would, I suspect from what you're saying about your daughter right now, that would be a revelation for her.
Okay.
And she might not be able to sit through the whole thing. There might come a point where this is enough and I'm out of here. It's like, okay, well, I appreciate you just being the space.
Mm-hmm.
And giving her an introduction to the inner world where most of us never even know you can look, let alone look.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you so much for listening and talking that through. I'm gonna try that with her.
Yeah, delighted. I mean, could you imagine as a kid having somebody in your family say, gee, I've got a bunch of upset going on. Would you be the space? Would you support me in looking at it?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, and there's one part of me that wondered if, because I was feeling like I was drowning, because I do at Christmas, it's like I got to start taking one piece at a time because it's
right.
so much, it hits so hard. And
Yeah.
I thought, okay, I'm just going to get through. And then I thought, oh my God, it's like, is she releasing because the pressure cooker inside of me is so pressured? Is she releasing emotions I'm not? And I thought, wow, like I'm watching these aspects of me come out. And if I would just sit down and do the work, I feel like it would express itself very differently. And it did in
Yes.
ways, like it definitely did. But I think for the future, just being aware that this creeps up so fast and hits kind of like a sledgehammer.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember that we're the one who's wielding the sledgehammer. The sledgehammer is not wielded by somebody else.
Okay.
And we can turn the sledgehammer into an inquiry rather than beating ourselves or others up, as our power person modeled is the only solution to conflict, or stress, I don't have to turn this sledgehammer on myself or anybody else, but I can look at it, I can embrace it, and I can remember when it was used on me, and I can dismantle it. I can let it go, because all of these sledgehammers we're talking about are nothing but reflections or constructs of thoughts.
Okay.
Remember those opening words in the book of John? In the beginning was the mind energy, and the mind energy became flesh. We think a thought, thought turns to a neuropeptide lands on a cell, emotion is generated, neuropeptide enters into the cell and shows up as chemistry. Now we are living with the chemistry of our thoughts. If we're ever going to reverse that process, we're going to have to do the reversal of it. We're going to have to go to the receptor site. We're going to have to stand in willingness to allow that energy that's been locked into the cell to be pulled out of the cell. Breath is one of the keys to that. Look at it, decode it, feel it, which is not going to be Dr. Feelgood, but instead of having to use the language of our childhood culture, which was always blame, I can use the language of responsibility. Gee, my sadness is coming up, my fear is coming up, my rage is coming up. Gee, I noticed when that blender started, I had irritation moving in me. It's like that sound just grates on me. I wonder if there's something in me that I can let go of, because I noticed there are 6 other people in the room and nobody else seems to be grated on by the blender. Maybe there's something in me. And that's like, if you're the first one in the family system to start to understand that, that's a major revelation. And to just demonstrate that it can be done is like that old story of, why did the chicken really cross the road? It was to show the possum it really could be done. And when you demonstrate it can be done, then your daughter will scratch her head and go, wow, Mom, is that really possible? And, she may still run away from it, or it may open up a whole conversation where you get to introduce her to her inner world, where she's got packed away everything she never wanted to deal with, never wanted to feel. And it's, for most people, when they first start opening that, in the ancient teaching, we said the veil of the temple must be rent in twain. I was not talking about a purple curtain in a church. The temple is this body-mind unit, and the veil is the barrier between the subconscious and the unconscious. And for most people, if you're the first one in the family system, open that veil, man, there are monsters in there. It is filled with monsters. And they're all just reflections and shadows of thoughts that can be dismantled instead of unconsciously reinforced and acted upon. And then to just model, if she chooses to sit with you with a worksheet or the Power Person worksheet, maybe start with just a simple form of the worksheet first. If she chooses to do that, and when you have emotion surface, to just take a time out and just sit for a minute and breathe and just say, well, what I've learned is one of the ways to discharge the emotion of this painful thing that's coming up is just to breathe. And that breath, to be introduced to just that tool, is so transformative.
Yeah, I like that. That's like a rendition. When they were small, I would tell them, if you don't cry and let your emotions out, even though I didn't know how to model it at the time, it will make you sick. That's why people end up getting sicknesses. So you have to cry it out and let it out of your body, or it will manifest into sickness. And this is actually a nice, gentler way of just breathe through it.
Yeah, the thing about crying it out is you can do some detoxing with the crying it out, but the crying doesn't dismantle anything. When you bring the breath in, the intelligence in the breath starts to take apart the thought disorders, literally, energetically, and dissolve them. So, yeah, introducing the breath is so monumental.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, holding the space for the rest of your holy days to be wondrous and holy with her. It was a delight the other day to just chat with her and say hello, and we'll hold the space for big feelings to surface safely and come to healing and the safety of being connected to mom fills her awareness, and the safety of you being fully present in your own home come to your awareness on a new level. So breathing with you, holding the space. Any other thoughts for you?
No, that was really a great guidance forward. Thank you.
All right, holding the space. And how's everybody else doing in this holy day season? Isn't it interesting? They were supposed to be holy days, and then we changed the name and the emphasis of the word. Instead of a Y, we made it an I, and it became holidays, and we introduced alcohol. This special fluid that people keep in a special cabinet just for their very best friends and family so that they can have a good time together. I mean, talk about one of the most transparent and bizarre con jobs that's ever been brought to planet Earth. That's one of the biggest ones. So anyone else have any thoughts for us?
I do.
Go for it, young lady.
From what you were talking to Andrea, a lot of that resonates. I also have, I don't feel like I don't have after I found, let me put it this way. After I found out the history of the holidays that we celebrate, and where they come from, finding all of that out, like I don't, it doesn't carry the magic for me anymore.
Could you just repeat that for me in a little different way?
Finding out the history, like it not being Jesus's birth and it being about the Catholic Church, bringing in pagan celebrations to draw people into the church to control them and all of that stuff. I have, it feels fake to me. Like it felt like when Andrea was talking about the Yuletide, that feels more true to me. And then when you add the commercialism and all of the other stuff that goes with it, and we all know by now, Cammie has issues with honesty with truth. And my understanding is that there is no documented that the Jewish people back then didn't even celebrate birthdays, or that all of that was all made up.
Okay, so here would be my first thought would be to recognize that none of that creates feelings in you. Feelings are things that happen as a result of your thoughts. And
Correct.
what the fact is out there is, and there are many perspectives on that story. One could easily take that one as gospel truth, or at least 100 other shades and variations on the theme of that one, right up to, well, when you realize that there is the truth of another mind that comes alive in us, which could be seen as a birth, and as the Yule celebration focuses on coming out of the darkness into the light, then what do we do with children when we want to teach them a deeper truth? We give them a story that may not be literally detail for detail factual to convey to them. It's called a parable, a deeper understanding. So, I guess I could go with they lied to me and therefore I could be all pissed off because I have an issue about lying, or I could recognize that I have an issue about people lying, and I could free myself of all of the emotional trauma that I hold about having been lied to or about having lied. And then I can look at it and go, yeah, maybe somebody totally lied, but it doesn't have to do anything to my physiology, because it can't do anything to your physiology, but it can
It
show you what's
feels
in your physiology. I'll invite you to change one word from "it feels" to owning your feeling. I feel.
okay.
Because it can't feel.
I feel like you're right. I feel like it's not living in truth.
Okay.
Um, and I
So it's not living in truth isn't a feeling, that's a thought.
That's true.
So
Okay.
it's not living in truth, is a thought. And then if I'm going to step up to the plate as an adult and be responsible, then I can engage in, and when I hold that thought, I feel sadness, grief, rage. I have thoughts of being lied to, conned, cheated, I could have a whole list. And so now I've just listed the worksheets that I can do to clean up what's going on inside of me in response to what somebody out there is doing, maybe purposely and maybe not purposely, and maybe with wonderful, high level, awesome intentions they're doing it. But when I make it responsible for what is moving in me, then I cut myself off from being freed of the things that are moving in me that I'd like to be freed from.
So it sounds like I get what you're saying, and I have, I'm totally clear. Like, I didn't raise Alex with Christmas because I absolutely refused to lie to him. And I kind of regret that now, that because I have good memories when I was a child about it. I
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that came up for me when Andrea was talking was one year I asked my mom not to allow my stepfather, my bio mom's husband, to come to Christmas because I was dealing with him beating me and stuff, and I felt like, for one, they were divorced. It just wasn't, and she
Right.
did anyway. And so that came up for me to like work around that, but I don't remember any trauma around Christmas.
Yeah, it
At
doesn't sound like
all.
the issue. It doesn't sound like the issue you're heading toward resolving within yourself has to do with Christmas specifically. It sounds like the issue has to do with lying and being lied to. And Christmas just happens to be the circumstance at this point where we could call,
That's
you know,
that's
we could
triggering.
call the whole story a lie, or we could also shift into, yeah, it was a metaphorical way of giving children insight into a deep truth that is hard to explain on the surface. So does that make it a lie? No, it's called a metaphor, and we use metaphors all the time, and they explain things that otherwise are difficult to explain. So again, I'd come back to, so now what's the work I need to do so that I can stand in the presence of someone who is telling the biggest, deepest, bald-faced lie, and I can stay connected to love and invite them into responsibility for their lie and hold them accountable. Like, maybe their lie is a crime, and maybe it's my job to pick up the phone and call the police and have them held accountable for that lie legally. But I can do it from a space where I'm connected to love instead of I'm doing it out of some sort of unresolved pain or trauma in me.
Yeah,
What's happening with your breath? So when you contemplate something without breath, you contemplate without the power to resolve and heal whatever the issue is. So just invite you to, as you contemplate it, to make sure your breath keeps moving, because the breath introduces the factor of healing. Remember, the first half of the definition of the breath, Ruka in Aramaic, is she, the feminine elemental force that undoes the effects of errors. If we contemplate something that is an issue for us without breath, then we're contemplating without the possibility of healing. We're contemplating it without the presence of an intelligence that knows how to shift at the deepest levels, whatever it is we need to shift. So you want to take that piece of advice, I'd offer it would be helpful to take that piece of advice that's given in the first beatitude that says that we activate constructive neurostructures when our home is in the breath rather than in our heads or in our upset or, in our stories, or when our home is in the breath.
I'm like, what's coming to me is that it's about me living in my truth instead of conforming to everybody else's in order to
So,
be accepted or
right.
quote, you're gonna love this, quote, loved.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, there's the power person message of you got to do it right. You got to do it my way. You're back to that power person dynamic would be my offering. Oh, I don't get acceptance and love if I don't do it their way. And their way is a lie. But it's not about the lie. It's about the power person message that in order to be, what's the list? Approved of, accepted, cherished, honored,
yeah.
I
When we
have to conform to their way.
oh, okay. So when we did choose to not do Christmas, yes, there was a lot of back. There was a lot of.
Crap to put up with.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it was
And it
worse than
sounds
over.
like,
It was worse than the crap I got over breastfeeding.
and
You know?
and it sounds like there's a part of you that was in agreement with it because, as you say, you realize that there's some things that he missed, that you missed with him, that you now
Yeah.
regret. So there was a constructive aspect to it. And I'd suggest that the major piece of work that needs to be done, and I'd dig out the Power Person worksheet, yes, all 19 pages of it, and start to work on that. I have to conform to be, quote unquote, accepted, loved, cherished, honored, given gifts, whatever the dynamic is.
I have to think like everybody else.
Uh,
Um,
yeah.
So I have a question about that Power Person worksheet.
Yes.
So when I went through the first one for the intensive, when I think it's step 6 where you mark all the behaviors
Right.
that you saw your Power Person do.
Mm-hmm.
When I was working on that with Carrie, so I had almost all of them. I mean, almost all of them. But when I was working with Carrie, I think it was Cammie making things more complicated than it needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe I should have, or I definitely could have, marked the ones that pertained to that situation, because
Right.
that was what Carrie ended up saying, was like she just had to pick a few and do the worksheet. And so
Breathe.
I did complicate it by trying to add all of these things that didn't necessarily show up with the issue that I was doing it on.
Okay.
Is
So
that
complicating it. Remember the list in the codependence workshop of the pseudo solutions of the non-being mind? Remember one of the pseudo solutions, the first one being, the most common one being, if I could just figure this out. But further down the list, one of them is obfuscation. I make this so complicated that nobody can figure it out and I can never be held accountable. So that might be a thing to recognize. Oh, well, maybe that's one of the things I do in order to try to solve the dilemma that I'm looking at. Is I obfuscate. I make it so big and I make it about so many things that nobody will ever figure it out and I'll never get caught. And if,
I
and
don't
if,
think it has anything to do with being caught, but I do
okay,
think that I take it like down it like everything in my mind, like things connect. And so I do make it, it's hard for other people to follow my train of thought, because one thing leads to another, to another, to another, with
that,
things that I become aware of.
that,
I really
that
can't.
oftentimes, yeah, that oftentimes is a result of, if you go back and look, and I don't remember your profile on the personal code evaluation, but that oftentimes is a result of the honor for truth being higher than honor for self,
It
or
is. Yeah,
higher
my
or
honor for
higher than honor
truth.
for others. Okay, and
My honor
that
for,
profile.
sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
My honor for truth is higher than my love for self, my honor for self, but my
Okay.
honor for others is like 100%.
Yeah. So then the
Making a
words that I
mountain out of a
usually use are
molehill.
making mountains out of molehills, making it bigger than it really is. So if
So
that's
what,
the dynamic, then that's what I work on forgiving is, okay, so I'm going to bring up this honoring self to a higher level so that I don't have to protect myself by making mountains out of molehills or obfuscating. I can just go, oh, here it is. I don't have to make it so complicated that nobody will ever wade through it. So
and
that might be another
it's
worksheet to do.
not, I'm,
Breathe.
it's not about, my worksheets aren't about somebody else.
Yeah.
They're about me. And if it takes me going 4 levels deeper than the initial thing that I'm doing it on, and that's where the gold lies, I don't understand how that's.
If the gold lies in me resolving this piece of the puzzle, but I make a mountain out of the molehill, and now I have 47 pieces of the puzzle, then I've obfuscated. I've created such an array of confusion around this that I don't really have to look at the real issue.
So would you say that I'm doing that right now?
If you'd like me to say it, I guess I could say it.
Well, no, I mean, I wouldn't like you
I'm
to.
just
I
being a
would like
wise
for you
guy.
to just be honest. Like, is this what you're talking about? With
Well,
I'm asking if it's an example of what you're trying to tell me. Hello?
so yeah, so my offering would be that when you acknowledge, gee, I brought a lot more things into the worksheet when I was working with Carrie. That would have been a good, my offering would be that have been a good place to stop and go, oh, here's a realization. I have obfuscated by bringing all this into it when I could have looked at boom, 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 the 3 core issues and worked on those and been thrown out the other side. So that could very well be the mechanism of avoidance, which is what obfuscation is. And so go back to the simplest, there's a principle in science called Occam's razor. The simplest explanation is probably the true one. So go back to, there were just these 2 or 3 things. So that's what I'm going to focus on and work on. If the others come up later, then I'll work on those too. But when I start and I go, oh, I have this key, this key around this issue, but then I go, and then I've got this one, and I got that one, and I got that one, and I go, oh, let me think. And now I can bring, now I've just watered it down so much, I'm not going to face the ones that are core. So I'd say
it's a way, rather than digging deeper, you're suggesting that it's a way to complicate it so much that I can't get to the main issue, which isn't as complicated as I make it.
exactly. That's what obfuscation is. Yeah. And so go back up and go with the simpler approach and see what that produces. That might open the space for you to see that, yeah, there is this deeper layer. And now that this one's out of the way, I can actually handle the deeper one rather than just get so confused that I don't get anywhere.
Okay, so that's funny because I really I really want to but that's the way I dismantle it, is like how I want to come back to that. But what I do know is my husband tells me that I do that in so many words. And now you're telling me that I'm doing that. And
Well, I'm asking you, and it seemed like what I heard you say was when you were working with Carrie, you were able to identify 2 or 3 things, and that was really the core, and you could have worked on it from there. But then you brought in all these other things.
Okay,
And
no,
that's
no.
how obfuscation works.
Okay, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is when I was going through it, I was marking off all these things that I saw them do. When I was talking to Carrie about it, Carrie was saying, well, she just picked 2 or 3 things and kept that focus on that. That was not how I started. I started with the whole ball of wax.
Yeah.
And I was just asking if I should keep it simpler by just picking like the few that like come to the top. I was
Yeah.
going through the list and it's like, yes, this,
At
and it
all.
was
Yeah.
basically everything.
Mhm. Yeah.
I,
So
I
then,
saw him do all of them.
like the old story about how you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So you take number one and you do your work around that, and then you take number two. You can't take all 50 and do them all at the same time. You can confuse yourself and avoid that way, but just take the one that comes first, do your forgiveness work around that, clean that one up. Okay. Now, is this one still important? Yeah. True. Is this one? Well, no, I kind of actually they didn't do that. I was the one who did that. That was projections. So I'll do work around me doing that. And
Well, that's how it all comes down anyway.
yeah, yeah. One piece at a time. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to start a fresh one when I get off of here. Which I actually need to do right now because I have to be out of this hotel that I'm in at noon.
Well, travel safely.
Okay. Thank
All
you
right,
very
holding
much.
in a blessing. Lots of love.
All right.
Artie, blessing. Bye. All right. Well, we've got about 4 minutes left. Does anyone have a thought for us? Anything to plug in here? Question? Answer? Anything to share? Season's greetings to offer? Then I'm going to just invite everybody, if you're in a place where you can, to just get quiet, close your eyes, and allow yourself to just take a deep breath and let yourself just feel whatever is moving in you right now in response to this whole conversation. Whatever's moving in you in response to your life right now. And as you allow your awareness to move inside, imagine that you're actually the eyes with which you look out into the world, or at least we pretend we look out into the world. Imagine turning those eyes inward and just looking inside. And allow yourself to find the light in each cell within your own structure. And recognizing that, as was said, what you're looking for is what is looking. And what is looking is the light. And the delight that you are, looking inside at every cell and the light that is in every cell, strengthens and intensifies the presence of that light in every cell until every cell in your structure, trillions of cells, are filled with that light, filled with that active presence of love. And as you breathe, you allow the intelligence of the breath to move through your whole physiological structure. And anything resident anywhere within your structure that inhibits any physiological function. Whatever that physiological function is inhibited because the light is blocked. And allow yourself to just breathe in that light. Restore that light, that presence of love to every cell in your structure, and know that you are the light of the world. And as the light of the world, only light can come to you. Only light can be where you are. And that you are guided by that light to always have the right words just right there on the tip of your tongue to open the space for whatever is most important at that given moment. that the breath moves in you eternally, delivering intelligence and healing to every cell in your structure. And because that light and that presence of breath and love is so active in you, that it touches and delivers healing to every person that you even lay your eyes on. And joining each of you in fulfilling your function as the light of the world. Thank you for joining us and holding the space that this new year truly